Good morning, everybody. I'm Bart Winkler. What a blessed day to be with you here. Not just with you, the consummate you, the you that is Paul Imig, and the you that is Grant Bilse. Guys, thank you so much for joining my program. I hope over the next however many minutes we can share some insights, some laughs, some conversation, and really just cherish the time we have on this marble we call Earth.
Wow,
that's right.
Yeah.
That was nice, Bart. Thank you.
I haven't drank this week, so I'm seeing things a lot clearer.
Really?
Yeah.
Not even on Monday? Well, Monday was a holiday. Monday's a holiday, so it's fine if you drink Monday.
I didn't. I have been partaking in gummies instead. But
from one vice to another.
No.
Gummies aren't a vice. That's a healthy substitute alternative.
Yeah. I would call Mountain Dew a vice.
I would call this a vice.
It is. Most things that we do in our life are vices to some degree.
Yeah. I'm wrestling my friends to talk with me so I don't have to get a real job. Well, take it away. It's another edition of Paul, there's so much. I mean, what can we even get to?
Oh my goodness!
We got to cram 4 hours of content in a 1 hour shoe.
Yeah, it's going to be great. And I want to start with. By the way, we're going to get into because we're like post Packers season now. We're going to have some Packers. We're going to do some NFL, but there's going to be MLB/Brewers, and there's going to be NBA/Bucks. So we're going to hit them all today.
I've been really in my feels about the Brewers in baseball ever since the news of Travis Shaw's retirement. So I'm totally down to talk Brewers today.
Why did Travis Shaw's retirement hit you?
I don't know. He was one of the early pillars of this era of Brewers baseball. He was one of the first guys.
Bart, who was what did you call Jonathan VR? He was what was he?
Jonathan VR was patient zero of the rebuild. Which I thought was true.
It wasn't outlandish at the time, but thank God he wasn't like
VR. No, that the whole history around VR was bullshit. Because one day he tried to steal third, like he had a double and he tried to take third, and everyone's like, And
he's the Ty Montgomery of the Brewers in a lot of ways.
I was like, he's learning. He's just learning his limits.
Yeah, you guys talk amongst yourselves for 1 minute. I'll be right back. Sorry.
Okay, sure. All right. He's just learning his limits.
Yeah, I think he's the Amari Rogers / Ty Montgomery of the Brewers. And I love patient zero because it's fun to remember back when they signed some of those guys, the low cost, like high ceiling guys were like, what are they doing? And then they all worked. And Travis Shaw was one of them.
Shaw, I always appreciated because he would always talk to us.
Nice guy.
I don't think that I can more accurately describe to you because we've over the years, on the radio show or whatever, we've brought up, we used to do the Brewers on Deck.
Mm-hmm.
We were never a Brewers affiliate,
Mm-mm.
but we did a post-game show
Mm-hmm.
and it was profitable. So then we're like, well, let's do a pregame show. And the whole thing will be listen to us, then them, then back to us. And it was successful. And one of the things that we did was we had to go to the clubhouse and get an interview with the brewer. We needed a fresh interview every day.
Get a soundbite.
An interview. A one-on-one.
Okay.
Interview. So I'm just talking about how shitty the On Deck show was. So we would send, the rawest of the raw down there, including, me in my first couple of weeks. And we'd have to just go you walk into the locker room and it is like a meat market. You're like, which of these Brewers should I go try to talk to? And then you have to go to the opposing clubhouse and you're trying to figure out, sometimes nobody's in there. And I'm like on my phone, which you're not supposed to be on, trying to figure out if there's any connection. I walked up to Tucker Barnhart one day and I'm like, hey, you want to talk? And he's like, you want to talk to me? I'm like, yeah, you play in the Northwoods League in 2004? And he's like, oh, yeah, all right. It was just awful. It was an awful experience. It was terrible. But Shaw was always Shaw would always agree. Most people agreed. The one guy that did turn me down was Eric Thames. Turned me down twice.
Was it during
Nicely?
the height of like his 2-month fame?
Yeah, it was kind of tailing off. The interaction I remember the most is, well, I did talk to McCutcheon as a Pirate. That was fun. But and Adrian Gonzalez threw a paper airplane at my head. That was a story I've told a million times.
Good story.
But Jason Rogers, remember him?
Pitcher?
No, third baseman.
Oh, I'm thinking
First baseman that they tried to work over at third. He was a bigger guy. Jason Rogers. He eventually got traded to the Pirates.
Yeah. Okay.
Aramis Ramirez was on the team at the time.
Yeah.
And so I asked Rogers, like, hey, with you trying to get more time at third, I mean, how much do you rely on some of these veterans like Aramis Ramirez to help you out? And he just looked at me like, no, he don't really talk to me, man. And so I've always hated Aramis Ramirez because he didn't help out Jason Rogers.
I think Jason Rogers' career would have been completely different.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there was a period in there where it was like, not Amari. Who did I just say?
Aramis Ramirez, Bart.
Yeah,
Jason Rogers, Aramis Ramirez.
You know who I hate? You know who my least favorite Brewer is of all time?
Mm.
Well, one, it is Brady Clark.
Why?
Because he looked like a guy I did not like in Fond du Lac.
That's fair. Same.
But two is Jason Kendall.
Oh.
Jason Kendall led the league in choppers to third every single time.
He was your traditional old school, like hard-nosed catcher.
Loved that guy.
He was
Him
like
Mike Rivera. Very good battery.
He was like the guy when we played kickball, they'd always go, like they knew you couldn't kick the ball that far, so they'd pull the outfield in, and essentially there were 9 infielders.
Mm-hmm.
Kendall was never getting a ball on the grass. There was no way.
Not during his Brewers tenure.
No.
Royals, maybe.
All right. Well, that's enough of that.
Oh, yeah, that was fun. And you bought me some time and other stuff. All right. Let's start with this one. Monday Night Football, the Buccaneers and the Cowboys. If the Packers had made the playoffs,
which was 1 to 3 days ago, I'm not sure yet.
Somewhere in that vicinity.
Yes.
If the Packers had made the playoffs, they would have embarrassed themselves in a similar fashion to how the Tampa Bay Buccaneers did. Mm-hmm or mm-mm.
I'm going to say mm-mm.
Okay.
I probably would have talked myself into the Packers going to San Fran and getting a win.
Maybe you talked yourself into it, but would it have actually looked any different than the horrific-looking Buccaneers did on Monday?
Well, I think the Packers would have lost. I would have talked myself into it, and then they would have lost.
By the way, every game was competitive, at least for half of it, like the Seattle 49ers game, except for the game that last week Bart said was his most anticipated Super Wildcard Weekend round matchup, which was Cowboys-Buccaneers, which was sucked. Everything else was really good. Even like Seattle-San Francisco was good for half or 2 3/4.
Well, so Tom Brady had a miserable night. And if he's retired by now, I'll edit this out, but I don't think he is.
He's not.
You won't edit it out either way.
I know. So he had a miserable night, but his stat line looked really good because this is what somebody predicted it on Twitter. I think it was NFL Philosophy. They're like, here's how the game's going to go tonight. Dallas is going to come out playing Dallas, and Tampa Bay will play conservative. They'll just play conservative. And then it'll be clear Tampa needs to adjust, and they won't. Dallas will score more. And then by the time Tampa's ready to play their best, football, it'll be too late. And that's exactly what happened. But I think with Brady, he threw the ball 66 times. He had more than 300 yards. He didn't look like terrible. But in the first half, he was missing a lot of guys. Yet because he had so much garbage stats and because Maher missed 4 extra points,
yeah.
It's hard to make Tom Brady's failure the storyline when there's something much more hilarious to talk about. This guy missing 4 extra points. So I think Brady. I mean, if Rodgers, I said this the other day, Rodgers and Brady get viewed differently, and it's not even because I don't know, but I think we can say we don't like Brady and we can root against him, but nobody like doesn't like Tom Brady as a person. You see him in like, except for his ex-wife, but you see him in like, I shouldn't have done that, but you see him in like commercials and you're like, oh, this guy's funny or whatever. He's insightful and stuff like that. Brady, at least at the podium the other night, was like, hey, I just want to say thanks to you guys. But normally it's like, there will be more retirement speculation, I think, around Rodgers than Brady, even though Brady is like 100 years old. I think to answer your question, I totally forgot what it was.
But the Packers would have embarrassed themselves in a similar fashion to how Tampa Bay did.
No, I think Tampa is the most embarrassing because they can't run the football, even though they have two good running backs. I don't understand what that's about. And then they looked bad. They looked bad, and there's a lot of questions there. So no, I don't think they would embarrass themselves that badly.
But I would say Grant, I want you to answer obviously, but the Buccaneers looked bad because they were a bad team all year. The Packers were a bad team for 14 of the 17 weeks for the most part. So why wouldn't they have just also looked bad?
Well, I think Tampa's worse.
Are they?
Well, they're both 8-9, and we beat them. Tampa's worse. Tampa's worse than Green Bay.
That game feels like it was years ago.
I kind of forgot it happened.
Me too.
Yeah. Was that week 3, 4, somewhere in there?
Grant Bilse. I went to dinner after that game and did not wear a jacket. It was a long time ago. To answer your question, would they have embarrassed themselves? I mean, precedent just has to say, I don't think the Packers roster was any better or worse markedly from Seattle or from who's the other team that lost this weekend? Well, or from Tampa. Like, I think those teams were very similar. The one thing that Seattle showed all year is that they were like, they had the right mentality, they had the right attitude. And I think Pete Carroll showed that he could push the right buttons at the right time to get his team going. And I think you can say the same for Dallas, right? Like every time they've lost this year, they've bounced back really well. And last week we heard about Mike McCarthy, like he's showing baby pictures to the team. And like, we can laugh at Mike McCarthy, but I think that kind of stuff works. Like he had the Super Bowl rings fitted for the Packers the week before the game. Like when Mike McCarthy goes to his bag or the Gallagher thing, like when Mike McCarthy goes to his bag, it's shown that it works. I just don't think the Packers had that edge this year. So I lost no sleep this weekend not watching the Packers. And I did not think that, they could be in this game. They could compete in this game. Because like you said, they were a bad team all year. They had 17 games to show that they could show anything. And outside of the Minnesota game, they just didn't.
Well, and I enjoyed the games more.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
With no Packers, and then the Vikings lost.
And it was a really good, like, I agree, like Bart, we talked about this last week. The matchups for this past weekend weren't good. The games turned out to be quite good with the exception of Monday night.
Yeah.
Monday night was so fun because Buck and Aikman for Cowboys Tom Brady, still great. We got a Mandalorian teaser at halftime, which is fun as well.
It was a Mandalorian teaser at halftime.
And Saturday, like I think this is why the Seahawks-Niners game was perfect. It wasn't close at the end, but it was close enough for a half to vindicate anybody that felt like Seattle had a fighting chance. So like we got it was just a perfect weekend of football. And it may be a loser mentality, maybe. I'm perfectly fine that the Packers bowed out the way that they did. If they were always going to bow out, I'm happy they did it then. Better draft pick. And this last weekend is the most fun I've had watching postseason football in years. It was great.
Yeah, I honestly just wish that the Monday night game didn't happen because I had such good vibes. And then Monday night was not great. By the way, I would say too, I know you just complimented Buck and Aikman, and I know, Grant, I recall you're a Buck and Aikman guy, and I have no issue with Buck and Aikman. But watching a Nance Romo broadcast and a Greg Olson, and who's Greg Olson with? Burkhardt?
Kevin Burkhardt.
Those two duos are so far ahead, and even Tirico and Collinsworth.
You think so?
I think Buck and Aikman are fourth string.
Okay, hold that thought. That we got to dive into that.
I'll go as deep on that as you want.
All right, I gotta take a quick timeout. We're woefully late, so I'll take a quick timeout. Have this word from Happy Place Hemp. Promo code is Bart, 25% off every order, and we'll be right back. And we're back. All right, so I talked a little bit about the announcers the other day. Spark Guy left a message about Burkhardt, how he always says, and he's wide open, and it's a big play. And, Al Michaels is getting like, people have tossed him in a grave and started burying him.
Yeah.
And I think the problem with that broadcast was Tony Dungy is awful.
But Tony Dungy's not used to that for the most part. Like, that's not his typical gig. Al Michaels you got to be better. But they slept through that game.
Yeah. Well, it was 27-0.
Okay, fine. It had one of the 3 biggest comebacks in NFL playoff history, and the kick is up, and it's good. And the Jacksonville Jaguars.
There's a flag. Let's wait. I hate when that happens. It ruins the moment. The announcers.
All right, so who's the best? Who's the best? Let's map it out. Who's the best number 1 crew? Don't give me your Joe Davis fandom if you like that loser.
And by the way, and this is not me. Like, I have no problem with Buck and Aikman. Like, 4 years ago, they were the best broadcast duo. But there have just been some like revelatory.
Buck and Aikman, they are coasting.
Well, that's part of the problem. Like, you can.
They went to ESPN and they thought it was a big joke. Look at us. Look how we came over here. Aikman came and then I'm here and look at that. You used to know us wearing a blue shirt our whole life. Now we're wearing a red shirt. How crazy is this? We're on ESPN now. And Mickey Mouse. We used to be Fox, and now we're Disney. I mean, what? How does it even happen?
Buck and Aikman accomplished everything at Fox. They made all the money. They called Super Bowls. And I think they were like, well, we can make more money and we can have a new challenge, right? Instead of calling the same, 10 or 12 teams a year, we have an opportunity to see every team, to go to more stadiums, to be in a different environment. Like, I think they took it on as, let's do something new, right? Well, we're still in the prime of our careers. We've experienced.
No, Troy Aikman saw these guys getting a bunch of money, so he bolted. And
which is good.
Joe Buck went too.
And Aikman upped his game when he saw Romo getting all this money in Collinsworth. He's like, well, I'll be damned if these guys are going to be better than me. So he started being a better announcer, and all of a sudden he's calling out guys. And Aikman's been better the last 2 years.
Aikman's been better, but the new crop of talent is just light years ahead. Like, do you guys learn anything from Daryl Johnston ever?
Why is Daryl Johnston catching strays in this chat? What did he ever do to you?
I'm asking if you've ever learned anything watching a game that he's been broadcasting.
He's fine. That's the game you eat lunch to when Daryl Johnston's on. No, I can't. Sorry, I don't have my favorite Daryl Johnston moments ranked in my head.
I'm just like every time I listen, I'm just like, oh, like
Daryl Johnson. Jeez.
What about Kenny Albert? Shit, let's talk about him too. Who? Greg Gumbel? You want to talk about Greg Gumbel?
Greg Gumbel's a smug asshole.
Burkhardt and Olsen are very good. They're very good.
Let's be very clear. Let's the best. That's number 1.
I just saw an article on Barrett Sports Media where someone's like, Olsen is going to get fried after the Super Bowl because everyone's going to realize how much he sucks.
Oh, that's nonsense. He's great.
I disagree. I think Burkhardt and Olsen are great. And if Brady's going to retire, like, I think Olsen's the better part of the Burkhardt.
He is.
Burkhardt came on the scene a few years ago calling football and baseball, and I was like, whoa, who's this guy? And he's been good. I don't think he hit the next level. Yeah. Isn't it weird? It is weird to analyze announcers.
I would say like Greg Olsen's carrying that duo, but Kevin Burkhardt isn't sinking it. Like, there could be
But then if Tom Brady comes to Fox, it can't be Burkhardt Brady. It's got to be Burkhardt Olsen Brady.
I'd love a 3-man booth. That'd be fun.
But then I love a 3-man booth too, and it could be really good. But you're going to pay $37 million a year for a third guy in your top booth?
Yeah.
Look, Paul.
How are these? I don't understand how the announcers are getting so much money. They should get a high level of money, but $30+ million. We're already watching the games anyway.
Well, Tony Romo broke this. He broke the system, though.
Well, now I've seen a lot of backlash on Tony Romo that him and Nance aren't clicking.
Deserved for Romo. He's
Romo's good, but he and Nance aren't clicking.
Tony Romo is not a serious game announcer. He's great for the weird, wacky. He would have been great on Saturday night with that comeback, and it's Chargers and Jags, and it's two teams we don't know. It's in Jacksonville. Perfect Romo game.
Here we go, Jim.
He's the chaos guy. No one knows what's going on. He's great for that type of game. Packers, Buccaneers early in the year. I think Romo did that game, right? That was perfect because punts and turnovers was disgusting. But if you have a beautiful game that just needs it doesn't need someone to get in there and really do much. Just needs an announcer just to narrate and just be the soundtrack to a great game. Romo is not that guy. And Burkhardt and Olsen are good. I respect Greg Olsen because he's about it. He's been grinding. He's been putting in the time. He didn't just show up and get a check on day one. But that booth doesn't feel big, Paul. That doesn't feel like Sunday Night Football. I give Tirico I think the last month for Tirico, he's found his stride. Joe Barry, he finished strong this year. I think Tirico really put a stamp on the end of the year. But Fox,
I agree. Tirico, I'm more of an Al Michaels. I liked Al and Chris.
Yeah,
Chris is great. Oh, Chris is so
good. He's awesome.
And I think we're skipping the point here. Is Collinsworth, not Chris Jack, has really just kidding. He sucks. But Chris Collinsworth, I think, is tremendous.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think the big thing I've noticed about the analyst guy is Chris once said something like, I hardly ever watch the ball.
Yeah. Yes.
I watched like how the play is developing and the quickness that he can say, like you can see a 10-yard pass over the middle and the quickness he can point out the guy that made the mistake, that let the coverage be available or let the play be available. It's just such an enhancement to the broadcast. Yeah, so I like their broadcast the most.
Sunday Night Football is tremendous. Can I just make a
no broadcast was better than Mike Patrick, Joe Theismann, and Paul McGuire.
You're so old.
Sunday night ESPN, mid-90s. On
color commentators, I just feel like Chris Collinsworth commands a room. You walk into a room and you're like, shit, that's Chris Collinsworth. That's a man. I feel the same way about Aikman. I would not mess with Aikman. But I walk into a room and Tony Romo's there. He's eating chips in the corner. Like I don't feel like Tony Romo commands a set and commands my attention on Sunday afternoon the same way that Aikman does.
Collinsworth, so you're 24 years old?
Mm-hmm.
Collinsworth has been broadcasting what percent of your life? Aikman, what percentage? Aikman, 100%. Like, well, not 100%, but like
both my whole life, I believe.
So yeah. I just think there's like an establishment thing here that I'm recognizing where it's like this is my child, like whereas like these new guys like, well, they're kind of close. Like Greg Olson's only 6 years older than me, Grant Bilse, and so Tony Romo.
No shame.
So I'm just saying, like, I wonder if it's just like, well, these are the established voices. So I've known those voices since I was 8 years old, as opposed to guys I had started to get to know their voices when I was 20.
So where's the disagreement here? Because I feel like I'm with Grant. I've agreed with everything.
Romo will make a joke of himself and the situation in a way that Aikman or Collinsworth never would. You know what I mean? Aikman is Romo's fine being the butt of the joke and kind of being the funny guy. Aikman and Collinsworth would never. They would never do that.
Well, I think my main thoughts are Tirico and Collinsworth are very good.
They're awesome.
Burkhardt and Olsen are very good.
Yes.
But Olsen is the attraction in that booth.
Yes.
For me.
Yep.
Mark Sanchez is the worst person. I can't even handle I can't handle anything he does.
So bad.
And then Romo and Nance, their stars shone very brightly for like a year where you would watch games just for Romo. And then they seem to they've like fallen back a little bit. And then Buck and Aikman, I think they think it's funny that they're at ESPN. I mean, they're not as serious as they used to be.
See, I think
someone at ESPN told Buck early this season, it's like, dude, we need a little more. Like Fox is grand and you don't need to do a whole lot. I think someone told Buck at some point this season, like play it up a little bit. It's Monday night. It's fun. Cause when they start that broadcast, it sounds like he just downed a beer and I love it. It's great.
The thing is, for me, I always want to watch a game and learn something. Like I want especially the play or the color. I know, but I mean, like I want to pick something up that I didn't see before. Greg Olson's the best at that for me. But I think, Bart, you're going to go back on this. Like I asked you guys a few weeks ago, I think Grant was on the show, and it was about QB wins. And then you guys both said, oh, like it's been so overblown that now it's gone too far. You guys have also jumped the Tony Romo Nance thing. You jumped the shark on that. Like it's not as great as it was. It's not as like down as you. It's still really, really, really good. And if that pair existed like 7 years ago, it would have been, it still would be great. But there's just 4 really good duos right now. But I think Buck and Aikman are coasting. I think they're really, really comfortable, which is good. It's it's welcoming, but it's comfortable. I want to learn something. I want to see something that I didn't see. And I don't remember the last time Troy Aikman said something that I didn't see myself. I want someone to show me something that I can't see myself with my own
Plus,
eyes.
he thought McCarthy should have kicked a field goal.
That was so funny.
That's the other thing is the Greg Olsen broadcast. The thing that really brought me over the top, and I'm glad we're talking about this now, is because he was always like, I know conventional wisdom says the kick here, you got to go for it. And then Dable was like doing the same thing that Greg Olsen was talking about. Whereas Troy Aikman, again, like a different generation than Greg Olsen, a much more traditionalist, played in a different eras, like, Joe, I think this is where you kick the ball here. And it's like, I think Troy, I think the game has like you better start to evolve with the game or it's going to pass you by. So I'm so glad you brought that up because I gained respect for Greg Olsen over the weekend and I lost it for Troy Aikman because I think you have one guy who's evolving with the NFL and one guy who's stuck in the 90s of football, and Troy and Greg Olsen. Am I off on that?
No. I like Greg Olsen.
But specifically, like,
yes,
recognizing like what the coaches are actually going to do and modernizing, like.
He's sharp. Greg Olsen, Aikman coasts on his playing career a little bit, but he does it in he's America in a suit, and he can coast on that. Greg Olsen is very smart.
That's not bad.
The problem with the Greg Olsen booth right now is that Greg Olsen is analytic, smart, quippy guy. He needs a power broadcaster next to him. And Burkhardt he's a little lighter to the touch. He's a little skitterish. I need power next to Olsen, and he doesn't have that. I don't dislike Burkhardt, but if you were to put him next to Buck or Nance even, I think it would be a lot better. I think that's where the Fox booth is like.
What about like Al Michaels and Greg?
God, no, we didn't even talk about Al Michaels and Herb Street.
By the way,
Herb Street and Fowler are why it's okay. I just said that I don't like watching some of these. You don't watch for the announcers, but Herb Street and Fowler, when they're doing like the Sugar Bowl on January 3rd, and it doesn't matter. Like I'm watching that game because it's like feels like it matters.
I would say I never watched for a broadcasting duo, but I will mute for a broadcasting duo.
I would like to say that Fox's college crew is like some of the worst shit on earth. They got that Petros guy who sounds like this, and then they got Tim Brando, who's like, remember during Jump Around, he was like humping his partner.
We needed our friend Ben Kenny tweeted on Saturday night, and I agree that Saturday night Jags Chargers game deserved Gus Johnson. Like that was the type of, and it's the same family as Tony Romo, where it's like the broadcasters that thrive in the chaos with the lesser known teams, kind of the junkie games. Like Romo's great for that. Gus Johnson's great for that. What I don't want is Bengals Chiefs, unbelievable game coming down to the wire, and Tony Romo won't shut up. Like, that's what drives me nuts. And it would be the same with Gus Johnson, but a messy game. I love guys like that.
All right, I'm going to put a bow on the announcer talk.
Let's.
After you rank them.
I was about to bring up Chris Myers, so let's move on. Let's do it.
Well, I just wanted to say that if you ever go to a Packer game and you sit in the club seats, the radio broadcast is on the whole time. It's awful.
Have you talked about this before?
I don't know. I can't remember.
I feel you might have.
Well, I'm going to rank Mike and Chris number 1.
Okay.
Collinsworth and Tirico.
Fair. I'll accept. Yeah. Tirico's last month really did it for me. He sold me. A lot of off-season momentum for Tirico, the way the season ended for them.
Yeah, he can feel good.
I would just say Buck and Aikman are a very strong 4th. I don't necessarily know 1 through 3, but Buck and Aikman, though very solid. And
how can you put them 4th if you don't know who's 1 through 3, Paul? That doesn't make sense.
Because they are worse than the 3 others.
All right.
The other three are battling for the podium.
All right. That's fine.
And Buck and Aikman are better than the other crews.
They're better than Daryl Johnston. We've made that clear.
Wait, why are you guys shutting down the Daryl Johnston slander? That dude has not said something new in a broadcast in 15 years.
Because Fox has a lot of guys like that. Fox had like Fox had like Dick Stockton for 100 years, and it was just like your grandpa calling a game.
But Daryl Johnson he's just there. What you want? I don't want an analyst who's just there. Like
Kugler, Schlereth, Mark Schlereth. You learn things from Mark Schlereth?
Stink.
He's worse than Aikman with some of his conventional wisdom takes. Again,
Schlereth is a big. He's a weekly guest on the Rami Makloff Experience.
Oh yeah,
Sacktown Sports. Yeah,
big Kings guy.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
what's next?
We'll move on. Among the 4 road teams during this upcoming divisional round weekend, so Jaguars at Chiefs, Bengals at Bills, Cowboys at Niners, and what's the other NFC game? And Giants at Eagles. Okay, among the 4 road teams, so Jaguars, Bengals, Giants, Cowboys. Among those 4, the team most likely to go on the road and win is the Bengals beating the Bills. Mm-hmm. Or mm-mm.
Okay. Well, I'm going to rule out Jacksonville. Sorry.
I would love it. But yes, rule it out.
The Giants, Horvat and I, still alive.
Yeah.
We put $20 on Bills beating Giants exact outcome. And $10 on Giants winning NFC. How about my guy? How about my Daniel Jones takes?
Dude, Daniel Jones
like Steve Young.
Yeah.
Rock star. He was
I knew it the whole time. You got it. Some of these quarterbacks you got to be patient with. If it was up to conventional wisdom, Jalen Hurts and Tua would both be out of the league.
Daniel Jones has been in the NFL 1 year longer than Jordan Love.
We try to write these guys off too quickly.
Jordan Love hasn't played yet, and Daniel Jones almost got written off.
Well, Tua and him were in the same draft class.
Yeah.
Tua's career.
The Tua story's so twisted now, though.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. But the Giants, I'd like for them to win, but it's probably between Dallas and Cincinnati.
That's where I was. Dallas.
Cincinnati and the Bills is interesting because they did not play that game. Now it's in Buffalo. The Bills. I was watching Colin Cowherd with Sean Payton. Payton.
Payton. Hit the T.
And Cowherd's like Cowherd interviewing Sean Payton was great television because Sean Payton's sitting there really breaking down. Like I argue you can watch football and have good thoughts and takes. Okay. Like us guys. But Sean Payton, you're immersed in it. It's different. It's like you're immersed. Like you can have takes on announcers, but I think that's more of a thing that we can kind of study because we've all done to the extent. But Sean Payton was like really laying out all these things. Going on for like 10 minutes. And Collinsworth's like, yes. I saw that. Like,
it's interesting.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Let me throw this at you.
And then Collinsworth goes, here's my thing about the Bills. Too messy, too sloppy. There's no discipline. It just seems like a free-for-all. They like just don't have everyone else seems polished. They're not polished. I don't think they go far. And Sean Payton's like, bites his tongue and goes, they are sure fun to watch though, aren't they, Chris? It's like, all right. You don't want to rip on anyone because
yeah.
But I do worry, about because their whole thing was when Brian Daboll was there, everything was more focused. But now Josh Allen is like really bringing out the Favre in him. And he's got so many red zone interceptions. He almost had the Packers back into that game because of those interceptions.
And fumbles. It's not just picks. It's a crazy amount of fumbles too. Like you got both picks and fumbles. That's really the Josh Allen story. Favre was just a lot of picks. Josh Allen puts the ball on the grass too.
I do think like narrative wise, I like to do narrative. Buffalo, they got a lot of momentum and now it's the game that, got called off. But seeing Cincinnati come in there and go into an AFC championship game against the Chiefs, again, I think it's a very likely situation. So I would say Cincinnati because of everything I just said, but I'm going to take Dallas.
And then he's going to pivot over here.
Well, I'm high on Dallas. I know they play like dog shit the last month, but They looked good the other night. That's more of the Dallas.
Well, they
team.
looked good on Monday night, but
Dak,
Grant,
Dak, that's the Dak they need. But they didn't even get that much out of their running game. And so their running game is very strong. The Niners, I'm not, and this isn't fair, but I'm not. One thing I hate is I won't believe it until you show me. Like, you should be able to believe something.
The Bill Simmons, the classic Bill Simmons, yeah.
But I need Brock Purdy to win before I think Brock Purdy's going to win.
I need to see it. Can I see it for a month?
I did see an article from The Athletic over the weekend or maybe Monday, and it said, going to the next year, regardless of Trey Lance's status, regardless of how the Niners do from here on out, Brock Purdy is QB1 in San Fran, and Trey Lance is QB2. I was like, damn, like that. I mean, I how do you argue against it, really? But also, that happened quickly. Like, the number 2 overall pick who you trade up 3 first-rounders to go get versus Mr. Irrelevant. Grant, the road team most likely to win this upcoming weekend is the Bengals beating the Bills?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Short answer. Mm-hmm. Because the Bengals have the confidence. They have the weapons. And I believe was it Aikman I was listening to last night? Maybe it was Mark Schlereth. I was watching Monday Night Football and on my phone watching clips of First Things First a couple nights ago. And Schlereth was like, they brought in Reeder and they brought in all these guys. And so I just think Cincinnati is like going for them. I have my favorite take of the week so far is an AFC quarterback take. Is this an appropriate time for me to roll that take out after saying, very, very, my answer is,
Yes, please.
I think as of last week, let me just lay this out. We haven't come to this conclusion yet, but this is what's going to happen. As of last week, Thursday or Friday, that is the most saturated that the AFC quarterback stock market will be, maybe forever. Because as of last week, think about it. We're all high on Allen. We're all high on Burrow. We're all high on Herbert. Lawrence, Mahomes, they're all infallible because last week we talked about Rodgers. Rodgers is no Herbert. Rodgers is no Allen. Right? We're comparing these old guys who have failed to all these young guys who are on the come up. There's not enough food in the AFC for all of these guys to eat, right? They can't all make the Super Bowl. They can't all be in conference championships anymore. And we saw that with Herbert, who blew a 27-point lead, right? What I'm saying is we are never going to be as high collectively on all of these guys as we will be right now, right? Because Joe Burrow is going to start losing to Mahomes, or Allen's going to lose to Mahomes, or Mahomes is going to lose to Lawrence, right? Like, we're so high on all these quarterbacks because we haven't seen them fail the same way we've seen Rodgers fail or Breeze when Breeze kept coming up short. So I'm so interested to see how the AFC plays out, not just this year, but next year and the after, as we start to form narratives and conclusions about these quarterbacks. Because right now, these guys are all perfect in our eyes, right? Burrow made a Super Bowl. He lost, but what a great year, right? And Allen, he should have beat the Chiefs last year, and Mahomes is great, and Herbert is brilliant, although he just lost, so we're going to start backing off on him. I'm just very interested to see how the narratives around the AFC quarterbacks form, because I think this is as high collectively as public opinion can be on all of these guys at once, is right now before 2 of them eliminate the other this upcoming weekend, and of course into the offseason.
I do think if Josh
Very
Allen,
good, very good. Grant Bilse. Well, weekdays 4 to 6, Wisco Sports Show.
Thank you.
I think if Josh Allen keeps improving, he will find himself in the top 10 of NFL quarterbacks before long. If he keeps improving.
Oh, currently?
Hashtag Rami. Sorry, that was a dig at Rami. Okay.
If he wins this weekend, he'll pass Carr. I agree. Yes.
Let's not jump.
Okay.
Don't be so quick. Yeah.
Okay.
The Cowboys beating the Niners was my second choice for this question. Dallas looked very good against a very bad Tampa Bay team. I don't know if I trust Dak after that performance yet, after what he had been doing in the previous month and a half prior to that. And I think San Francisco and the way that Kyle Shanahan lets Brock Purdy play and limits what he can do. And I mean, seriously, Brock Purdy, he's really good. He's good. He's a very good quarterback. But some of those throws, you guys watch that game, like, dudes are open by 10 yards consistently.
It's a paint by numbers offense, some would say. Yes.
Unbelievable. And so I don't know how if you're Dallas, I don't know. By the way,
about the Niners is I thought that I was talking to my brother during the game is I thought Seattle needed to pound Walker more, and then they finally were doing that. But the thing with San Francisco is,
Okay, Grant.
what's so funny?
I don't know. It's just the way you said it.
They need to pound Walker more. Grant found some amusement in that.
Continue. I didn't mean
You
I'll mute
dirty
myself.
brained millennial
No, he's Gen Zer.
Gen Z. You know how long it took me to make a TikTok the other day? 2 fucking hours.
Was that your Bradley Center one?
Yeah, it took me 2 hours. I wanted to say something.
Pound Walker. They started to do it.
Oh, San Fran can rip off a 20-yard play, and they've got 9 guys that can do it at any time.
Yeah.
And that's hard to stop. Speaking of San Francisco, I would like to pivot, and if this is a good time, I'd like to bring up this take. The Watt family annoyed me because of their corniness. But those are 3 fine young men.
Is this a Bosa take incoming?
Oh, here it comes.
These fucking Bosa guys. They are just the worst humans that this league has. They're terrible. Ike Bosa. You want to hear what Ike Bosa said the other day? I'm going to play it.
They look like they all work at the Daily Wire. That's what they look like.
Are you really going to?
He spikes the football, 15-yard penalty, helps cost them the game.
Spikes his helmet.
Yeah. And here's what he says after.
I need to be more accountable for my actions, obviously, but it's a heated game. I think there just needs to be more accountability on. If I say something to them, I get a $40,000 fine. But if they blow a call that ruins an entire team's season, they're probably back in the locker room after the game. Like, got that. Oh yeah, got him 15 yards. What a loser! I guarantee it. That's what they're fucking talking like.
What a dork.
He sounds like the bear in the Jungle Book, Baloo. He sounds like such a dork. Has he got cotton balls up his nose?
They're probably like, let's nail Bosa. We hate this guy. Hey, nice flag throw when you got Bosa. He wasn't even offsides, and we just said he was.
Can I piggyback off of your helmet take situation for another point that needs to be made about this weekend? Staley cannot be a head coach in the NFL.
He's terrible
for a million reasons, but just for this weekend, and I can't get out of my mind, that image of him running to pick up Joey Bosa's helmet like a kid would run around at a party to grab a pong ball that's rolled off the table, looking like a total rube, and then handing it back to him only to have him spike it again. You can't be a head coach and pick up a helmet. You need to have layers of assistants to do that. No. I'm out on Staley.
I got a coward angle on this. Ready?
Let's hear it.
All right. Get ready for this. I can't have my coach be a no, you hang up first guy. Brandon Staley is a no, you hang up first guy. Matt LaFleur is a no, you hang up first guy. You're having a conversation. Somebody needs to end this conversation. Somebody needs to say goodbye and move on to the next thing. But these guys are so focused on not hurting feelings and being polite. No, you hang up first. They're too cute for my NFL. I need a goodbye guy, not a hang up first guy. This is the hurt.
Well done.
Nice.
I just thought of that.
It's pretty good.
Grant seemed more into it than Paul did.
I think, but Cowherd is Grant's guy.
I love Cow. Cowherd is my guy.
Yeah. All right. Well, good. So we're gonna do some of these these will last. Some of these won't go away. So I'm gonna do this one that I want to do now. Early look ahead.
Whatever helps you sleep at night, Paul. I don't need to see other.
This is let's be honest.
Ask the fucking question and move on.
Let's be honest. I do this for me. I do this for what I want to talk about. I get to control the conversation. I want to do an early look ahead to the NFL draft.
Oh God.
It's not too
work.
It's not too in depth. Oh yeah, do you really?
No, I'm still waiting on another callback. This shit sucks.
Assuming all things are equal, position-wise, with the 15th pick in the NFL draft, the Green Bay Packers have selected what position? Not what player, what position? And I'm going to propose the answer be tight end. Mm-hmm or mm-mm.
All right, so I was looking at a mock draft before we did this.
Attaboy. No, you weren't. Really?
Yeah, Dane Brugler's at The Athletic. Yep.
Oh, nice.
Packers trade the 15th pick
To the Lions.
to the Lions in that mock.
Saw that.
And then
Jesus
they take
Christ.
a defensive lineman.
3 picks later. Dane Brugler had them moving back from 15 to 18.
He's got the Bears trading. I think the Bears stay and take Will Anderson.
Yeah.
They'll probably trade it, though.
They can get a lot of value. So.
I see a lot of people mocking this. Well, the thing about I watch so much college football. And then I'm looking at this mock draft, and I don't know half these guys. Because I know all the skill players, like with DraftKings. I don't know the offensive linemen. I don't know these cornerbacks' names. I don't even barely know the safety from Alabama. Now I got to pretend like I want him to be the one drafted by the Packers.
I'm done with the Packers drafting safeties in the first round.
I don't want any of that. I want an offensive lineman.
Puke.
Give me some meat.
Offensive line, huh? We're like interior, right tackle. What?
One of the greatest myths in football is that guards and tackles are that different. You're still doing the same shit.
I hope you're kidding. This is on the level of Rami and Josh Allen.
I'm kidding.
Okay.
Why would you ever want to be a center, though? You have to snap the ball and then immediately get up, and the guy's right there.
Snap the fucking ball.
Yeah, and then you get yelled at, too, by Bart's buddy Aaron Rodgers.
I don't want a tight end. I don't want no, I'm going offensive lineman.
All right. Wisco Grant.
This is not a prediction. This is a spoiler.
A guarantee. It's a spoiler.
Or whatever the W. I think that's WWE.
Nope,
What's that from?
Grant had it right.
You did have it right. I goofed it up, and Grant crushed it. Paul Heyman, yeah.
So what the Packers should do is take either Jordan Addison from USC, or is it Quentin Johnston? I believe.
So you want wide receiver.
Yes, I want a wide receiver. I want this team to join the fucking 21st century and stop focusing on blocking with their wide receivers and get some guys who can catch the ball. That's what I would like. What they will do is trade down or just stick and pick at 15 and take Branch, the safety from Alabama.
They have to. I refuse to believe that they haven't learned their lesson about safety in the first round.
I agree. You don't take safeties in the first round, but I'm not Brian Gutekunst, and that's what I imagine that they will probably do. I think they will take a safety, and all Packers fans will be like, this is great. Safety's a big need. You know, they picked up the option on Darnell Savage, but you need the depth, and now he can learn and grow or whatever. But I don't know. But they need weapons. I would love a tight end. I would love a wide receiver. They're going to take Branch, the safety. That is not a prediction.
I want to say something.
That is a spoiler. What was that, Bart?
I understand the content machine must continue. And this is really the first time that we've talked about the draft. But as soon as the Packers were done, I'm seeing mock drafts from all of our favorite, there's the Packers beat writers that are credentialed. And then there's the next level of people that whatever they do.
The blogosphere.
And I'm maybe like on the edge of that. What am I?
Fringe.
But they're all posting their PFF mock drafts, and they're all like in agreement. Oh, yeah, Brian Branch. Oh, you took Brian Branch too? Oh, good job, sir. Oh, I don't like who you took in the second round. I don't like that lineman from Iowa. I actually like the lineman from the other place. Oh, like you guys, they're over pretending how much they know. But they're all in agreement that it's Brian Branch. It sounds too much like Brian Butch, and it keeps confusing me. So I don't want it. But they're just like take a week. Enjoy some of the football you have in front of your face. Some of these guys do thousands of mock drafts. It's not about.
Keep going.
I'm getting sick of the way that some people Twitter. Hey, did you know 5 years ago Rodgers threw this pass 9,000 likes?
Okay, well that's highly specific, but I know.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I know what you're saying. I do.
I mean, what these guys? I'm just tired of it.
But did you see the clip that I tweeted last night? It was an overturned replay from May 1st, 2021, because Rock's call was just superb. It was peak Rock, because I was watching Travis Shaw's walk-off game against the Dodgers from 2021. I did not post the home run that Travis Shaw had early in the game. I didn't post the walk-off, I posted a clip from the highlight video where Rock was just being Rock, and it was great. We need more uniqueness on Twitter. Everyone's trying to fit in and fit a mold to get likes. When you tweet,
you put something out like, hey, remember Rogers did this? We should thank him for his years of service. 9,000 likes. I write a fucking song. 200 likes.
I'm lucky if I get 20 likes these days. It's hard.
I wrote a song. It took me 4 minutes, and I wrote it.
Now you want to claim for it.
Yeah.
You want to be praised.
Well, someone asked me, how did it go? They always ask me this. They say, how was that interview with Clay? What was the reaction? What was the reaction to your song? What was that reaction? I go, not as much as it should have been. It never is.
What is happiness? It's that moment before you need more happiness. It's the moment before you want the next like and the next viral tweet. It's never ending, Bart. That's what Twitter is.
Chasing greatness.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The answer is...
That's why I say always be happy, never satisfied.
Wow. Oh, philosopher over here.
Well done.
The answer is somewhat and somewhat Grant is right. The answer is a pass catcher. Give me a pass catcher.
Weapon.
Give me an offensive weapon. Yes. If they, Bart, I mean, come on. I don't know if you're being contrarian or you're just like, you're sick of looking at people's Pro Football Focus mock draft stuff. Please don't have it.
I'm sorry. I don't care. I don't care if this guy's Ed Reed. I don't want a safety from Alabama in the first round.
No safety, period. No, I mean, it's just no, don't do that. But I'm
not trying to rock the boat with the offensive line. I would rather have offensive line than defense. But yeah, give me a pass catcher. Sure.
Yeah, pass catcher. Please. Just like,
but tight end, what tight end am I getting? I don't know.
Is it Michael Mayer? Is it Mayer? Is he the Notre Dame tight end that's right around that range?
Well, where are the tight ends supposed to go?
He's supposed to be the first one, somewhere around like 15 to 20.
Oh, fuck. Take him.
It's a good tight end class, Bart. Really good tight end class. I don't know if you've heard.
Okay. Well, then take him.
Yeah. All right. By
the way, I said this the other day, but the most disappointing Packer to me. Huh?
This year?
Yeah. Was Robert Tonyan. That guy sucked.
He's coming off a knee injury, though.
Also, Robert Tonyan is what he is. Like, especially post.
No, there were a few weeks where we were like, oh, he trains with Kittle. He's like our Kittle.
No,
yeah, and then he blew out his knee.
And came back in like 9 or 10 months.
I don't have a good response to that, so shut the fuck up.
And also the answer is Darnell Savage.
Oh.
Yeah.
Grant, who's a more disappointing Packer than Savage or Tonyan? Is there one that's more? I mean, other than Rodgers? The answer is Rodgers. He went from a back-to-back MVP to being the 15th best quarterback in the NFL.
AJ Dillon is up there.
AJ Dillon was really disappointing,
but he's up there. Mm-hmm. I mean, we thought AJ Dillon. We went Craig Counsell with it before the year. Forget wide receivers. Let's just talk about weapons. Let's talk about pass catchers, right? And we're like, well, AJ Dillon is probably top 3. He's up there with Jones and maybe the rookies or Tonyan. But we thought AJ Dillon was a top 3 weapon on this team. Pass catcher.
He dropped the pass against Detroit right at his hands.
Well, he wasn't asked to catch passes in college, so that was a big misconception, and that's why the Packers took him 9 rounds higher than every other team would have, is because they saw through what he could do, not what he did do. It's about projection. It's not about performance in college, Bart. This is why you don't get mock drafting, is you just don't get these basic principles.
All right.
I can't argue. I've been put in my place, and I will happily accept it.
Bart, you have to ad-lib a couple with Grant because I have to leave earlier than I expected, so I apologize.
Oh. So you're leaving there now?
I'm leaving now, but you want me to leave you with one?
Well, I don't know. We can go home.
Let me leave you with one, and let's see if you want to go off on your tangent or if you want to save it for your like Bucks, whoever they play post game. The NBA has a regular season problem.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Or I'm going to say 100% and I'll tell you more next time. But you guys debate. You guys discuss.
Okay. Well, then what I'm going to do is
bye.
Cut this episode here because I'm going to use whatever we say.
You're banking this for next week?
No. If this airs Thursday, I'm going to cut this part and air it Wednesday.
Oh, okay.
So I kept all this in, but if you want to hear The answer, you maybe already heard it, or go back and listen to Wednesday's show. Okay? So the Thursday show is done.
This was Thursday.
Thursday.
But
And then I'm going to say goodbye. And now, have a good Thursday, though. All right. Good morning, everybody. I'm Bart Winkler. I have Grant Bilse alongside me. Grant and I, along with Paul Imig, are going to do which will air for you tomorrow. And we have recorded this. So our ears already know the greatness that you will get. I could pump them both out, but I'm not going to do that. That will be Thursday's episode. And at the end of Thursday's episode, Paul left us with a question, and it was very well tying into what we've been talking about does the NBA have a regular season problem? And to address this, I will first play a voicemail that I got from Hot Take Jake, if you don't mind. Carl's Place brings us the voicemails. Carl of ET.com. /Bart. Get a golf simulator. Grant, that apartment looks perfect for a golf simulator.
the whole thing would just be a golf simulator. That would
I
be
don't know what other way would you want to live? Matt, in the Falls the other night, we were talking about our disdain that if we were going to go to the game, Giannis didn't play. And I almost brought my son, and that would have been because Giannis is the only guy he recognized.
Yep.
So here's Hot Takes Jake's retort.
Good morning, world. Your boy Hot Take Jake. I know I've had kind of a hiatus from the show. That's life, man. But I'm listening to Tuesday's show, and I just got to give a shout out to Matt in the Falls because, like it or not, Matt, you are now my fucking guy. You are 100% correct. Whatever is going on with the NBA, this is ridiculous. Guys sitting out with little boo-boos, little knee sorenesses. Not going to cut it, man. Like, maybe this is how I know that I'm getting old, but, like, I just saw a graphic the other day that at 40 years old, Michael Jordan, playing for the fucking Washington fucking Wizards on a minimum salary, led the NBA in minutes played and did not miss a game. So I'm going to say this to Giannis. You're my guy. And Chris, you're not my guy, but I'll say it to you too because you deserve it. Rub some fucking dirt on it and get out there and fucking play, you fucking pussies.
Wow. Captivating stuff.
Strong words.
It's very strong.
Yeah.
So I think what I am trying to figure out is the NBA season, it is too long for the teams that it's too long for.
Yeah.
So I'm going to just pull up the NBA standings here real quick, if you don't mind.
No, go ahead.
Just a better.
I'll say while you're doing that, I never felt like the NBA season was too long when the Bucks were chasing 60 wins the first season.
Never. When they were trying to get the 8th seed, it was never too long. When they were trying to, even win 50 games for the first time, it was never too long. But
Giannis
we know
chasing an MVP, never too long.
We know the Nets, the Celtics, the Bucks, the Sixers will be top seeds. And then like the Cavs, the Cavs are playing better than we thought, and they might need every game to get a top 4 seed. And the Knicks now are a few games over 500. And, then there's teams like the Bulls who are struggling through it, and they might need some time to figure it out. The Raptors, and it's not too long for them. In the West, I mean, a lot of teams are hurt. The Clippers, the Warriors, the Timberwolves are trying to figure it out. The Suns right now are 3 games under 500.
It's too long for the Suns because the Suns want the season to be over. It's too long for Phoenix in that way.
But it's not, it's not too long. It might be too long for the Nuggets. It might be too long for the Grizzlies. It's not too long for the Kings. Kings are having their best year in a long time. They want to savor every bit of this.
Kings fans would be fine if this regular season was 200 games long. It's how I felt about the Brewers in 2021, where I'm like, I could just watch this team for 3 more months. I'm just enjoying watching them. I don't even need the elimination games to start. Yeah, totally.
So it's too long for the teams it's too long for. But it's just right for the teams that it's not too long for. That being said, we are one of the teams that it's too long for. Mm-hmm. And you're going to see guys rest more than they might in a normal year. And that is a problem because the NBA is also an entertainment factory. So you've got two things going on. You've got a team who their goal is to win a title, and they need everyone to be healthy, and they're going to give proper rest to these guys throughout the year. I can't argue against that. I want my team to win titles. They're taking the approach that they think will best help them win a title. If a guy's a little hurt or just take precautions, these are the things you do when you are good. You have time. However, it's also, a product that you're trying to take money from me from. I can't have Emma emailing me every 3 days and to set me up with a package if Giannis is only going to play half the time. It's not fair to him. It's not fair to the team. They got to do their own thing, but you're also you're not playing in a closed gym. You are marketing people to come there. So
you're paying for Valley too. That's expensive. That's a cable add-on for a lot of people. That's a big hindrance that a lot of people wouldn't do if not for the Bucks.
So I don't know what the answer is or what the solution is. It does seem like I forget what game I was watching. I referenced this already, but there was an announcer that said, well, one of the things in the NBA this year is that you have to really navigate the games your stars will miss. And it's just assumed now that if you're a good team and you have guys, even if they're fully healthy, they're going to sit out 10, 15 games. And that's not then you start to wonder, well, do we need the 82 games? And if there's more teams that it becomes you don't need it for, but they're never going to get rid of them, Grant, because holla dollar bill, y'all.
I think a big part of this season, and I talked about this with a friend the other day, the teams that are succeeding are the teams that are figuring out how to win without one of their best players on any given night. You know what I mean? Except for maybe the Celtics, who are young and in their prime, and Tatum and Brown aren't missing time, other than maybe Malcolm Brogdon, who's a veteran anyways, and Robert Williams. They're not worried about injuries. I think we're in a tough spot as Bucks fans. I saw Mitch Ross, I think, the other night tweet, this has been a nightmare season when it was announced Giannis was missing a game, which is funny to me a little bit because they're a top seed and they're a title contender. It's very interesting how our perception of this season is, maybe different than it would have been a couple of years ago. But the Bucks are this perfect storm, right, where they've already won a title. So the foot is off the gas a little bit in the regular season as it is. All of these guys have gotten paid. Drew's been paid. Giannis has been paid. Chris has been paid. There's a lot of veterans. George Hill, a lot of guys on the bench have kind of got theirs over the course of their career, even if they don't have wins. And something I've talked about with both of our friends, Justin Garcia, these guys all have families. They have kids. You know what I mean? So when they lose a regular season game, they go home and say, oh, whatever, back to real life, back to time with my kids, back to the things that actually really matter to me. Whereas the Celtics or the Grizzlies or the Pelicans or some of these teams that skew a little younger, they're in their prime and basketball is what they do. They haven't won yet. They're fighting for that next big contract, and they don't go home to a white picket fence and a family and kids every night to keep them kind of grounded and balanced. The best athletes aren't balanced. They're nuts, right? And they show up to the gym every night like it's the only thing in the world that matters. So I think this Bucks team specifically has this perfect storm of factors that really make the regular season kind of a tough and a kind of a hard to watch, process. And it will be over the next couple of months. Totally.
So we know that, but even if we know that, we're still watching every game.
I mean, I tell you what, of all the people who are on my networks, we have Ebo in the morning and his kind of casting crew, Bill and Ben in the afternoon. I am the guy who watches all the Bucks games. I'm the guy who watches League Pass. I'm the Paul Imig kind of my radio family and our network. And the last couple of weeks, I've watched the Badgers a couple of times over the Bucks, or I've done something else over watching the Bucks. So even me, it's well, if Giannis isn't playing and Chris still isn't playing, and they're playing this non-common opponent who they're not going to see in the playoffs, it's not that I don't want to watch, but if I have something else I need to get done, I'm going to do that, or I'm going to listen to a podcast or something else, because it's not always I'm not getting the best return on investment for those 2.5 hours watching a Bucks game where no one's playing.
One thing I have no memory of or recall ability is Badger football. I can't name plays and games and, remember that year against Iowa? I can't do that.
I remember Graham Mertz's throw against Nebraska to win that game this year. I don't remember the Iowa game. I remember the end of the Minnesota game. And I guess Michigan State went to overtime.
I just take it out of my memory. I watch it. I just don't remember it.
Yeah.
It's weird. So they do have a regular season problem.
Can I read you a tweet that was kind of going viral earlier this week? You probably saw it. Do you have an opinion on this? This is from Nate Jones. Says, I think the NBA has gone too far with all of the jerseys and court changes, need to pull back and dig in on consistent team identity. It's already tough for fans to keep up with the player movement, and now there's no consistent team identity when you turn on games. Do you think there's anything to that?
No.
You don't?
I think that's a weird complaint.
You're not bothered? Well, okay, here's the thing. If I turn on Rockets Lakers and the jerseys are blue and gold or blue and red, like sometimes I turn on the TV and I got to figure out, this is such an old man complaint. I also saw someone in Buck's Twitter tweet like, hey, if we had to build a statue to Giannis, or if we have to remember Giannis some way, like what jersey is he wearing? It's kind of a good point. Maybe it doesn't matter to you. I don't see this landing with you, but I wanted to bring it up.
Oh, well, I guess he'd wear the black one. He won the finals in, right?
Yeah. But they've changed that black jersey a couple of times now over the last few years.
I don't like how when there's a jersey, it just goes away.
Year to
Like
year.
the yellow one. I want him to wear the yellow one again.
The blue ones went away. They won a title. They won playoff games in those blue jerseys. I don't think about them. Yeah, they did. The Mecca jerseys, the yellow ones. I love the purples. And they're going to get rid of them after this year. And they feel as though they can only wear the purples if they're doing a 90s night, which is dumb. That's something the Brewers would do. That's a Brewers thing to do.
I guess I could think more about that, but I don't know.
If it doesn't strike a nerve with you, that's fine. I just thought I'd bring it up. It's kind of on the topic. I didn't mean to.
I would say, I think the one thought I've had on this is in the playoffs, you should wear your jerseys.
I like that. Yeah.
Like in the playoffs, you should wear your jerseys. Wear your standard, your traditional jerseys.
Yeah.
Because those are going to be memories that we look back on forever, I guess, that are ingrained in time. And if I don't know,
maybe it doesn't matter. It's just something that was kind of floating around Twitter and everyone was sharing their opinion. To get it back to the regular season.
My first thought was it seems kind of Andy Benoit. Ty Montgomery's wearing 88.
Who's Andy Benoit? Oh, that I haven't thought about him in forever.
Yeah, he got real mad. He thought that, and now everyone's changed their jersey numbers, but he thought when the Packers were allowed to have Ty Montgomery wear 88, it was unfair.
I asked him to come on my show one time, and he was like, "I'm really busy. Try me again in like 5 months." And I'm like, "That's just say no at that point." That's my only interaction ever with him.
I asked Charles Robinson to come on. He wanted $50 from me. From Yahoo.
Did you consider paying him out of your pocket?
No, I said, dude, you don't get what we are. Thanks anyway.
I emailed the NFL.
Robinson.
I emailed the NFL Network guy a couple of weeks ago to try to get James Jones, and then he had to remind me that James Jones is no longer on NFL Network, and I'm like, that's good stuff.
Where is he? Fox?
I think he's on Fox and he does Packers radio and whatever. I saw he was on Bill's show and I was like, I can get guests too. And then I emailed the wrong guy about it. So,
I don't think that NFL Network guy, he would never give me anybody.
He hasn't responded the last 2 times. I want to get Steve Mariucci because he's from the UP and that's a gold mine. I need to dig into that. There's UP questions to be asked. There's coaching Matt LaFleur angles that I want to hit. And Matt LaFleur played football in Michigan downstate, as they call it in the UP. And if I can just get Mariucci on, I feel like he would leave a 10-minute conversation with me thinking, that's not what I expected. That was, wow, what a specific prepared experience. I might come back. In fact, I might screw the booking guy. I might give that guy my number. I want to be his friend. I think I could land that, but it's a very specific guy. I'm working on it. Anyway.
Well, good luck to you, Grant. More from you tomorrow, and Paul Imig on And I appreciate your friendship.
Yes. And if Tim Shea comes on and he's like, hey, I got offered these courtside tickets, but I can't use them, tell him that I will gladly help him out if he needs help. Thank you for the time, Bart, and pass that along.
We'll take a quick break. We'll come back and have Bucks Raptors reaction. If you're watching this on YouTube, I just kept it all through, so I don't know what. It's the end of the YouTube, so whatever. I don't know. I'm just trying to do
good work and feed your family.
That's really all it is. Thank God my wife has a good job. All right, see you, buddy.